to our regular council meeting. I'd like to begin the meeting by acknowledging that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area and wish to recognize the neighboring community of Doki's First Nation. While we meet today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their culture. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. With that, I need a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda. Willie and Roger. All those in favor? Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interests? Seeing none. There are no delegations tonight. So we'll move on to general government 6.1.1, 2024 Rural Ontario Municipal Association, ROMA. So we need to discuss delegations if we want to have any delegation at the conference. And I believe that there is one delegation we'd like to address, and that's the MTO with regards to the traffic study and to the issues we're having with the industrial park. Right, Mark?
Right.
Does any other councillor wish to add a delegation? Okay. Do we need a motion or just, no? That was easy. It's due on Monday, yeah. Okay. Let's move on to finance. So before you have the under 6.2.1, the budget schedule. So have a look at the budget schedule and note it in your calendar. So we'll have the initial budget planning for council on December 19th. And then for council as well, we'll have a special council meeting on Thursday, February 1st at 2:00. And if needed, then we'll have another one on the 28th at 6 p.m. And then on March 6th, we'll have a presentation on the draft budget and then final consultations. And then March 20th will be the approval of the budget. Everybody comfortable with that? Thank you. All right. Let's move on to 6.2.2, the quarterly report from finances. And I see we have our treasurer, Mark Fleury, online. So I'll turn it over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For events, statistics that have occurred in third quarter of 2023, we issued the final tax bills on time in July, with payments due on August and September. And also there was an event, there was a sale of land for tax arrears by public tender that was advertised for September 5th, 2023. There was 5 properties, 5 municipal rolls. Before the September 5th, 4 of those rolls were redeemed. That means they were all taxes were paid. And there was 1 remaining property that was up for tender, and we received no bids for the property. So we'll keep it for next year, for next spring. We're planning another one next summer, another tax sale. And also for asset management, we're working with our consultants for the implementation of the new asset management software. It's quite a bit of work cleaning up the inventory, and we're expecting a full integration of the new software in the first quarter of 2024. So for the budget variance reports for the 9 months ending September 30th, 2023, for revenues, user fees from operations are higher than budget. We estimate about $81,000. in the fire department, there was more calls, so more funding from MTO to fund those calls, and also environmental user fees. So more use of the landfill, so more sale of scrap metals and stuff like that. For revenues related to taxation, we have issued supplementals invoices totaling about $55,000. That's new assessments from MPAC since January 1st, and it's in line with last year actuals. For expenses, overall salaries and wages are slightly below at 73%, but you have to realize that there's going to be a volunteer firefighters payroll that are based on points. There's going to be done in it's next week actually, so we anticipate being close to budget for the year for salaries. For operating expenses, transportation services budget, there's increase in vehicle and equipment breakdowns, so there's some budgetary pressures there, along with the increase in the emergency culvert repairs that was done during the spring. These increases are offset by a decrease in expenses in the environmental services budget. So therefore, globally, we anticipate being in line with operating expenses, or with the budget for operating expenses. For capital budgets, again, this year, there's many capital budget items that have not been completed due to delays in getting approvals from authorities or supply chain issues. So some of these projects will be deferred to next year, or they'll be brought up at the next council meeting for deferral for next year's budget. Any questions?
Any questions? Renee?
Just maybe one. So I noticed that the federal, the government transfers from the federal government,
Yes.
it's only at 92,000. Is that normal for this time of the year, or like it's budgeted at 423, but only
Yes.
92 was received?
A big portion of big portion of that is the Alban Community Center, the funding for the rehabilitation of the center. We're going to do a claim in December, so that the revenue is going to be increased because of that. So basically, it's just a timing issue.
Okay, that's all.
Anybody else? Seeing none. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to Public Works and Environmental Services, Waste Management Operations. We did receive a report from you, Kevin. Did you want to speak to it first to start off with?
Sure. Through you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll just run through so the public knows a bit of the background. Further to our previous waste management operations reports. On November 1st, council collectively directed staff to report on the financial considerations for item number 2, the compactable bins with the modified sites, to include waste collection services for Shaw and Manettville locations, and to contact the Ministry of Environment, our waste collection, to investigate the emergency use of a 40-yard roll-off bins at our transfer stations should our waste collection vehicles fail, and provide council with public consultation plan to review. For item number 2, the closure of Shaw Road in Manettville transfer site location was firstly a recommendation from the third-party consultant J2PG, which completed the municipality's waste collection operation review in 2020. The recommendation came from misuse of these locations by other neighboring municipalities, and to implement controls of the sites would be challenging as they do not have hydro, and site expansion would be required on property that does not belong to the municipality. The following financial considerations are preliminary. It should be noted that Manettville site would need to be relocated, as the current site is on private property and has an outdated lease agreement in which the property owner will not renew on the terms that would consist of fencing off the access to the property. So for the capital costs, Manettville, these are rough estimates, but as close as we could get them. With land purchase, is 634,852. For Shaw Road is 589,852. That one's also really high because there's no hydro in the area, so we would have to run hydro quite a ways down Shaw Road. And then annual operating costs, 381,810. For the interim emergency solutions, staff was unsuccessful in communicating with the MOE to update them on the status of our waste collection system, and will require a little additional time on that. For the public consultation plan, the municipality will engage the community and stakeholders in the decision-making process by providing platforms for sharing information and gathering feedback. Staff proposes that the main public consultation be focused on a survey to provide each household an equal opportunity to provide feedback in writing. The municipality has recently conducted 2 surveys in relation to other municipal initiatives, and the participation surpassed our expectations and resulted in the collection of important statistical data and comments. Survey research has become an important, beneficial, and popular tool for municipalities. It is a way of gathering information from a large and diverse population. It reduces time needed to collect and process data. It is cost effective. It helps identify opportunities and potential obstacles or issues that may arise when implementing a new or a change in a municipal program, process, or service. So a 2-tier public consultation is being proposed to solicit feedback on the options being considered. 1 is input to be solicited through a survey. Notice of survey mailed to each household, shared on social media and on the municipal website. The online survey to be available through a link on social media and on the website. Paper copies available in person at the municipal office, and an in-person and virtual public consultation session. Staff to present survey findings, feedback from the consultation period received to date, opportunity for verbal, in-person, and virtual presentations, and additional opportunity for those who did not fill out the survey. The survey will be accompanied by an information package, which will consist of background information, meeting links from the past Environmental Advisory Committee meetings, regular council meetings, and the third-party waste collection operational review. It will outline the purpose of the consultation, identify the 2 options being considered, provide detailed information on both options, timelines for implementation, impact on taxation, service levels, consultation period timelines, and methods in which to provide their feedback. The consultation period will be for a minimum of 45 days from the launch date. Staff will present the solicited information to council during the special meeting on January 24th, 2024. Our anticipated timeline is November 22nd, launch of consultation. November 22nd to January 6th, consultation period of 45 days. And then January 24th, special council meeting and public consultation session. For budget and legal implications, tax levy increases included in the report presented to council meeting on November 1st did not include the tax levy increase required to pay for the principal portion of the capital loans. The table below reflects the tax levy required to pay both the interest and the principal portions of the capital loans. For item 2, for the compactable roll-off bins in Noelville and Alvin, is 499,290. Our current system is 306,400. And item number 2, the general tax, I kind of flipped there, apologies for that. But item 2, the 499,290 is a 3.56 tax levy increase. For item number 2 with the compactable roll-off bins, Noelville, Alvin, and Shaw Road, those 2 other sites added. It's over $1 million with a 13.65% tax levy. And then item 3, curbside waste And then curbside recycling without adding extra day in the landfill is 294,000 with a 0% tax increase. And then item number 3, curbside waste recycling and adding an extra day in the landfill is 402,754 with a 1.78% increase. Conclusion and recommendations to council. The recommendation is for council to accept the public consultation plan as prepared and direct staff to launch the public consultations as of November 15th, 2023.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll open it up to council and then I'll pipe in at the end. Any?
Well, I think that, I guess Shaw Road and Minettville, I know I was adamant that if we had the service that we could offer it to everybody. Okay, but obviously the price is a little out of what I thought it would be, so perhaps we could take that one out of the equation. So that's my comment on that. I'm okay with the period of the 45 days, the consultation period, and getting feedback from the public as to what they would want. I think it's important to know what they want. So I'm okay with that too. So that's my spiel.
Others? You want to add?
Much like Councillor Renee, I was in the same position. I thought it would be a good idea to supply that service to Minettville and Shaw Road. But through consultations with some of the residents and also looking at the figures, it may not be feasible, or it is not feasible. I'm just concerned with just a comment on the consultation period over the Christmas season. I'm concerned with that time frame. I'm wondering if maybe we can look at maybe extending it on the back end. Just during Christmas, people don't really have it in their mindset. They're thinking of other things rather than to put their energy into doing a consultation. So that's all I really have to add to that. Thank you.
Dean?
I think we're sort of, excuse me, sort of back where we were when we ended the last meeting here on decision making. But I like the idea of a consultation period and the surveys and so forth. I think that would give us a pretty good idea of what the public thinks when they have all the information, and especially the information that would impact the public the most in terms of financial cost. I made the point before that I'm very opposed to going into any bin system. And I say that because of our 20-year or better experience with bins. And I just think that we're borrowing more problems and expensive problems if we try to move that way. I am very much in favor of personally of the curbside pickup of waste and recycling. And although I know there are some issues with this, but I think we could cope with these issues when we're doing it. And as I look at what the cost would be to go into the bin system, and I think that with a small amount of that cost, we could ease the problem for people who think there will be a problem with curbside recycling. And we know who most of these people are and what the issues are, so I'm not going to dwell on that. But we could take some of that money from that bin system and say, we can help you deal with whatever the issues you think you've got in providing curbside recycling. And when we have the consultation period and people understand what we can do in terms of helping them accommodate themselves to the system that we would like to put in place, and when they see the value of doing it financially to they and their pocketbooks, I think we could make this curbside program work, and I think it's the only thing we should be pursuing. That's my opinion. I want the consultation. I think that's a good idea. Both the mail out stuff, the surveys, and see what kind of stuff we got. But let's just be sure that the public has all the information when they're going to reply to us, that they know what they're saying and what the issues are. And we have a public one, and one of the either Noelville or Albin, and there we'll have a chance to talk to people. We'll have a chance to put a lot of stuff up on the board for them to see, and let's then try to deal with what their problems might be and how we might address those problems. And whatever we do to help the people with those problems, it'll be a hell of a lot less money than I'm looking at here by monkeying with the bins and trucks and everything else. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Dean. Dave?
I'm gonna agree with Dean, and I haven't received personally any emails, anybody that's against curbside. I've had a few that were forwarded from others, and I've spoken to some of them. And the people who say they don't want curbside, I've asked, so what do you want? Well, they want what's there now because of the convenience, and that's not an option. So when you explain to them what option 2 is, they're not really in favor of that either. Only open on certain days, only 2 sites. It's same as going to the landfill where they take a picture of your license plate, they look at your bag. People won't like that anymore. So I want to see the public consultation with everybody informed. And I'm also worried about, you have seniors that don't drive, you have low income people that don't drive or can't afford to drive. So making them all drive to Noelville and Albin, I don't think, and we have the option here to open the landfill on Sunday. So everybody has an option here. Even if you're seasonal, you're leaving on Sunday, you can go to the landfill. It's not, and to me, spending couple $100,000 at Public Works on a bin when the dump is 3 kilometers away, I think that's absurd. I can't see that. So I want to see the public consultation go ahead and see what people have to say with all the information. Thank you.
Okay. Roger?
I'm totally against the curbside waste due to the fact that the people I represent in my area, I've heard a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. They don't want curbside. For the main fact is that, again, in Ward 1, even in other wards, Ward 2 and 3, a lot of seasonal people. Seasonal, summer is one thing, fall and winter is another thing, where they just come up for the weekend. Basically what they do with their waste then. Also, again, worried about animals, bears in particular, which I've seen personally in the yard. Basically, you know, public consultation is all right, because I think we're going to get a lot of people that do not want, and that would fortify our reasoning. But at this point, no, I have to go no with curbside. Thank you.
Yep. All right, with regards to the plan itself is okay. I think that I'm totally in favor of public consultation. Dean, I just want to make sure that you understand that there won't be a meeting.
I thought we were going to.
No, it's all going to be done online. Oh, sorry.
If I may clarify, on the 24th, there will be a special meeting in council chambers, and people will be invited. Those who wish to address council will be able to do so at that meeting, either in person or through virtual Zoom meetings. So there will be an opportunity for in-person dialogue with council.
Okay, so is the room gonna be big enough here? Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have the technology to be
Okay,
able to do
so
it
with the
with
new renovations in Alvin, we can do it there. Bring our council meeting there.
touche.
Okay, I love it. Before we send anything out, as we've done in the past, and that was acknowledged, like council needs to see the survey, needs to see the letters that are going to be going out to ensure that all the information that council feels is important is included in there. I think the November 22nd is unrealistic. I agree with, was it you that said about Christmas time? I don't think doing public consultation during Christmas, when people are stressed out as it is because of Christmas for whatever reason, they're stressed out at Christmas time, is not a good time to do the public consultation or the 45 days. I like the idea of the survey. I think you're right. The survey has been very successful in the last 2 surveys that we did. And so more than happy, and I know many people who are itching to get that survey. And so if we could have copies of the survey and the letters at our December 5th meeting, that would be great. And then maybe start in January for the launch of the consultation, so that people can then focus on what's really important for them here. So those are my suggestion to see how that would work, and then we can get it done. The other thing too is, again, I'm not gonna dwell on which side of the issue I am. I spent quite a bit of time, and Mark Flitty, I see you're there, so we'll have a discussion here with some figures. So I looked at option 2 to see how we could make option 2 work. And the bin, I agree with you, Dean, that the bin system has been a problem. It's aged out. We've had no controls over it, except recently over the last year. There's been a remarkable improvement in both Noelville and Alvin. We cannot afford to set up buy land for both Shaw Road and for Manettville. That's just unachievable. And I think everybody here agrees on that one. So I don't think that's possible. However, I felt that I needed to look at ways that we can afford option 2 without imposing a substantial amount of money. And I know that Mark F responded to my numbers, and I haven't had really a chance to look at them, but I'd like to go through with everybody my numbers and with Matt Flitty there, so that we can see if that's workable. So under the only the infrastructure part, which I think is the most expensive part, the estimated cost, and I based everything on our previous meeting, so the meeting 2 weeks ago. So we're looking at $629,700 worth of infrastructure requirements. I couldn't understand why, if we're going to go with 40 yards, bins, why we would need 2 extra bins for now. So I removed that for savings of $40,000. Then my proposal was to use the monies that we receive for recycling, which is approximately $70,000 a year, to offset the cost. As well, I went into our last budget and I checked my numbers with Mark, that we used $230,000 of our modernization fund. And I think that's a proper use of the modernization fund because it's modernizing our waste management system, as well as $100,000 for a working fund reserve out of our reserves there. So we're looking at $330,000, which leaves a one-time increase only of about 2%. And that could be tax for 1 year only to the taxpayers and then removed the second year. So you're not paying tax that 2% over 2% over 2% over the years. So when we're looking at the operational maintenance cost of option 2, the cost is to operate for option 2 is slated at 454,000 and some odd. And I took out the amortization of the 2 bins, so we don't need to amortize $4,000 because we would not be applying for a loan. And less the amortization on the big loan of over 43,000. So the new total for operational is then 406, or well, really 407. And the current waste program is a little over $306,000. So we're looking at a difference of $100,000, a little bit over that. Then if you compare option 2, which is a modified bin system, to option 3, as we reported, because we are adding the landfill day, so that's the cost of $96,354. The difference between 2 and 3 is $4,000. And in there, I didn't include the $10,000 for the rubberize of the drains of the shed. So really it's cost neutral. And the cost to the taxpayers would be minimal for 1 year. So if you're not on the waterfront and you have if your MPAC value, not what you think your house is valued or what somebody else bought your house for or the neighbor's house, would be $89 for that 1 year, which is about $7 a month. And for the waterfront, even at 650,000, you're looking at $100 for the 1 year. And so to me, that makes a lot of sense. And to make the bin operation, which I've heard from your constituents as well, the group from Ash Bay Road, do not want curbside pickup. They don't even want curbside pickup for recycle, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, a non-issue. So to me, we have to look at seeing how we can maintain what I feel, and I'm sure the surveys will show that, what the majority want, which is option 2 at basically the same cost, a little bit of a cost in the first year to pay for the infrastructure, and then we move on from there. Now, Mark Fleury, I don't know what this is, what you say about BU 24. I don't even know what that means.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know it's treasure thing.
Before you turn it over to the treasurer, I just would like to comment on the removal of the 2 extra bins. Operationally, the system can't work without the 4 40-yard bins. For
Yeah.
example, when the truck comes in with an empty bin, takes away the full bin, needs to leave a bin in place. So you need 4 40-yard bins to operate the system. So you can't cut out 2.
But the $40,000 is not a 40-yard. Is that a 40-yard bin?
Those are 40-yard.
So the
bins.
40. Well, wait. Then I have more questions. Hang on. Let me find my little papers. Because I thought they were 64,000. With isn't that? Am I dreaming that? Yeah, Michelle. Did I dream that number?
So the 64,000 is representation of the compactor on the bin. So there's the compactor and the bin is 64,000, and the 2 additional bins would be when they're hauled away to be dumped. The other bin is put onto what they call a doghouse, which is the compactor.
You don't buy the compactor again, you just buy the bin.
You use the same contact, same contact.
Compactor.
Okay, 40 grand negligible. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Oh,
I just wanted to address the operational issues.
okay. Yep. Then I'm more than happy to put it back on it because that doesn't make a big difference at all. So Mark, Jetty, can you take me through the document
Okay, I just BU 24 is just budget, 2024 budget. It's just
Who's
sorry.
that?
BU 24 is 2024 budget. It's next year's budget.
Oh, it's next year's budget.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought it was a secret code of some kind.
No, yeah.
What is it? And I'm looking in the
It's a-
documents and I'm going like,
It's in
really?
a secret accounting code.
Sure. For sure.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, so can you take me through and we'll leave the bins there.
okay,
It'll make that
so
very little difference. Right?
just to make sure we're looking at the 3-column report. There's a first section is capital budget. The second section is operating budget. There's 2 columns. One is your proposal, Giselle, and the second is the November 15th report that we just presented.
Okay.
So in the capital budget section, I took out the 40,000 as per your plan. For the funding, there's no loans, so we're funding with the grants or a special one-time levy. The issue here is we're using funding that's already budgeted for in the operating budget. So the $70,000 funding for recycling, it's already built in the operating budget. So if we take it out of operating and we've used that funding for capital, we don't have that funding in the operating budget anymore. So we have to find another 70,000 to replace the 70,000 that we don't have anymore in the operating budget.
Okay, well, then we could use then instead of $100,000 from the working funds, we can use $170,000 from the working reserves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one. Okay. I just wanted to mention that. And also there's for the $70,000, it's only for 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. So we're not looking at 140,000, we're looking at 87,500 total that will be available in the next year and a quarter.
Right, but if we
Sorry.
if we use the $70,000 from the I
Working
understand
capital.
what you're saying. Yeah.
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 Working capital, okay.
Yeah.
And for the modernization fund, so if we use it all for capital, right now we're funding our recycling, curbside recycling with modernization funds.
Well,
So
that's what I thought I saw. And
Yes,
that
yes.
concerns me because we're not supposed to be doing that.
well, it's
Because-
it's a transition.
Well, the
that's why.
transition's been 18 months. So that should have been built into the 2023 budget the minute that we started doing everybody. So, which was in the spring, correct? Isn't that when we started the entire
It started, I
municipality?
think it's June or July.
June,
it started,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the modernization funding should have stopped at that point, and then it should have been budgeted into our operations. So maybe what we didn't do is tax properly in 2023 to make that crossover, because that becomes operational. And the modernization fund is to be used for things to implement or to purchase, for things to bring your systems up to date. And so the usage of the modernization fund concerns me gravely if we're using it to offset our costs for a program that's 18 months old. And so to me, it doesn't belong there, and it belongs in discussions with regards to the operations, but it should not affect option 2, in my opinion.
It will affect the
The
budget for 2024.
Right,
Yeah.
it'll affect the total overall budget. I
Yes.
understand that, but it would have affected it anyway. It would have
Yeah.
affected it anyway in the long term, right? Because we're gonna run out and we're not using the modernization fund for what it's meant to be. And the reason I'm really pushing to use the modernization fund to offset these costs is is because we've been put in a position where it's raining, like it's pouring, like we have to do something with our waste management program because what we have outdated, no good, bring it to the scrapyard. And so what we're trying to do is to find some solutions that will work for what our constituents want and expect from us while not raising their taxes by a gazillion percentage to do that. And that's why I thought the solution that I came up with was simple, clean, and we need to address as council the curbside. That curbside pickup becomes part of our regular operational budget. And I see, Mark, the red light is on.
The regular curbside pickup's gonna disappear in the second quarter of 2025 because it becomes producer responsibility.
There we go.
Okay, and you know, I appreciate the fact that Madam Mayor, that you're trying to think outside of the box, but ultimately we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So ultimately there will be an effect on the general tax levy, no matter how you look at it.
I totally agree. I think it's coming and we've, I think, all expected it. But I don't want that issue, like the curbside recycling pickup, to be used to say that option 2 is too expensive, when really curbside pickup should be in our, for 2024, the 130,100 should be into our operational budget.
But the 134, Madam Mayor, is not, like I said, whether you charge them there or you charge them there, eventually there'll be a tax levy of certain percentages to offset those costs, no matter where you take them from.
Right.
Even your idea about the working capital is set up for a specific reason to look at the boards, which DSAB is meeting for their budget tomorrow. The health unit is meeting for those budgets tomorrow. So we don't even have an idea of how much we're going to need out of the working capital to offset those increases. And we're still awaiting the costing of our insurance costs, which.
Well, I didn't drain the account. I didn't drain the, trust me, I didn't drain the working fund reserves. There's well over, I think there's what, 260,000? Is that what it is, Mark?
I don't have the number in front of
30.
me. I'll have to, let me just look there.
Right. And we always put money every year into that account. We've done that since, I think it was one of your ideas to have.
Yeah, we built that up to 200.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
For
That's
that
right.
purpose.
But it's to be used for things to offset some of the costs while we adjust. And perhaps we can use that. And that's, again, that's my way of looking at it. And you're absolutely right. In 1 year from now, or a year and some odd months, the producers will take over. So we'll have that money saved. So it's an interim gap to fix. So to me, there is no value or no reason to say that option 2 costs more than option 3. It can't, it doesn't. So, and that's the message that we should be sending out to the people. So at the end of the day, the question should be, do you want bins or do you want recycle? And a modified bins, and I don't know who said it, I think it was you, Dave. Some people are not going to be happy with the modified schedule, though the people in Wellville should be used to it because you've had it for what, a year now? Has it been a year? Over a year? Okay. The ones in Albin, yes, they will. And Albin, well, not just Albin, I call it Albin there because that's where they're situated, but going up to Owl's Nest and Trout Lake, they will adjust. They will adjust to the new, if they want bins, then that's the way it will have to be with a modified. But I don't see how option 2 and option 3 is a huge savings. and to, when we can figure out a way to pay for it, a short little bite for 1 year so that we don't have to borrow. I thought we were borrowing money because I saw a 7% interest rate there. So I thought we were going to the bank under their new system and borrowing 7% over 10 years. So that's where I was looking at 7% and the $43,000 in interest. So that's, I didn't realize we were just doing transfer. So actually, there is no difference between option 2 and option 3, and that's where I stand. And so I had my say. I feel better. Yes. Dean and Dave.
I've got both a question and a comment, if I could, please. And item 2, option 2, did those costs that we have here include the truck, Kevin?
There's no truck.
No truck at all? How do we empty those bins?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. No, so the hauling is gonna be done, contracted out. Everything else is owned by us. So it's just the hauling fees that,
So those costs include the contractor's fees?
yeah, they do.
Okay. And the question, the comment that I'm going to make is this, Madam Mayor, and that is that even if you could work it out to where the cost difference wasn't much different, and there is, I don't know whether you're including all the costs, because those bins are going to deteriorate. They're going to be written off at some point. Same thing with the truck. The truck is going to be, we're going to be replacing those things at some point. And aside from the replacement costs of that equipment, as time goes on, we're still going to have the same problem with bins that we've always had. How are we going to get out of that?
Okay, because we're going to contract it out. The first thing, yes, I did take into account the wear and tear, because now these bins will be amortized. The new bins will be amortized. So once they die or they become useless, then we will have the money in our reserves to replace them. So we're not going to have to do it. There are no trucks because it's all contracted out. So we have, and then in there, we will have an attendant that will be there when the bins are open. And it's all costed into that stuff. And so they're not going to be leaving.
You're going to be all fenced and everything?
All fenced, yeah. It's all included into option 2. All fenced in with an attendant that will make sure that that couches aren't going in there, propane tanks aren't going in there, and stuff like that. So that's all costed out into option 2. Okay. I think
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dave?
To me, taking money from somewhere else, we're still paying for it. The taxes are still paying for it, no matter where you're taking it out of. And eventually that money is not there and it's going to have to be replaced. So it might not show on the next couple of years tax bill, but eventually we're going to see it because you're still taking tax money to pay this. I think anyway, to me, we should just go to public consultation before we decide how we're going to pay for any of this system. I think we should just go right to public consultation and see what people want before we start looking at how we're going to pay for it.
But the people have to have the correct information. So the people are concerned about how much is this going to cost me and what kind of service am I going to have? And so option 2, in my opinion, and the way that I've proposed it, the cost is negligible. In fact, it'll cost more for curbside pickup because I didn't include that $10,000 for the rubberize and the drains of the shed. The funds that are in the modernization fund, that's where we take the money from. The funds in our reserve, in the working reserve, was put there for days like this. And so we're not taxing the people over and over. Do we have a problem with curbside recycling that's not put in the regular budget? It has to be in the regular budget for 1 year. 1 year only because the producers are taking it over. And so things are going to settle down and people are going to have, or the majority of the people will have a system that they want. And I agree, let's go to the public, and I have no problem. But before we go to the public, we need to make sure that the public understands what the costs are and what's being proposed. And that's why I want to see all the information, and council should see all the information prior to going to the public.
So I also agree that we need to go to the public. I am in favor of option 2. I don't think, and a lot of people that I represent want option 2. So I think the only way we'll know is by going to the public to see what they want. And I also agree that whether the money is coming, the recycling money should not be coming from the modernization fund, because if it does, it's actually the totals that we have here are not accurate because we're using money from another program. And yes, at the end of the day, it's all tax dollar money, but we're not seeing the actual real cost because we're using funds from another program. So to say that it's going to cost 294 when in reality there's what, 70,000 for next year put away and a little portion for the 2025. I think that money that's, coming from another place should be shown in the actual numbers as what is the real cost, and not whether the money comes out of here or there. Just show us what the actual real costs are without us taking funds from other places. And we all now know that we're using funds from the modernization funds. We all know that, yes, we will say that the program just started in the summer. So yes, a lot of bins were purchased, a lot of the sheds were purchased. So some of the money could have came from the modernization because we did use it for everybody to get the same service. So I agree with that some of it it's okay to put some of it on there, but not the full use of what was used. And some of it should be operational. I agree with that. So I think, yeah, going to the public and giving them the costs of what of the breakdown of everything at the end of the day, what it's going to cost. And that's my spiel for that.
I have Mark and then I'll have you, Dave, okay?
Yeah, I just a point of clarification. The numbers that you do see of cost of operating are the actual cost of operating. We did not hide anything. We did not take, those are the true costs of operations. I don't want the public to be misled that staff played with the numbers. We didn't. Those are the true costs. Sorry, that's how I interpreted the information, okay? So my job is to defend staff in terms of the numbers that they put forth, and you all know that I'll do that wholeheartedly.
Well, we also defend staff, trust me.
I don't mean it that way.
No.
Like, it's 294 minus 70,000 minus, and then into the budget, we have the number that shows up there, right? It's the 294 is the actual cost minus the 70 minus the funds but I didn't mean to, I'm not accusing, I'm just saying that, like, here we have 294 and then there's money coming from the operations, some is coming from the modernization. I just want to see, like, how do I explain it? Where the money, like,
I think to clarify, there was never, ever any thought of that at all, Mark, ever. And then ever. And all council here adores the staff, and we know that they're doing the very best to do what we need to do. The thing with the modernization fund, all it is we're paying for one thing. We're not hiding anything. We're just paying for one thing. Instead of the operating, we're paying it from a reserve fund. That's all it is. And what I'm saying is that we should make an effort that it should be included in our regular operating budget. And yes, at the end of the day, we all pay for it. We all pay for it. But to make sure that option two, to make option two look more expensive than what we want it to be, there are ways to offset the cost. To me, the biggest cost is the infrastructure, like getting it going on option two. And I think that what I've presented shows a way to offset that cost without putting a heavy burden on the taxpayers. And then the operational and maintenance one then is comparable to going to curbside. That's all I'm saying. I try to keep it simple. Don't use any codes or anything like that. So that's what I want. And that's why I want to see the survey, the questions in the survey. Maybe it should be as simple. Do you want curbside or do you want, option two, whatever, a modified bin system, and explain what that is. But that was never, ever, ever.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
So just to simplify things, if you look at item 2, and I'm just pointing out the information in front of you. So item 2, based on the discussion tonight, we're looking at a potential impact of 3.56%. If you look at option 3 and you include the costing of opening up the landfill on the Sundays, there's an additional increase there of 1.78. So we're looking at a difference between the two systems of just under 2%, 1.78. So we're looking at about $96,000 difference between the two systems.
Yeah,
Does that simplify things a little bit?
So
It does money wise, but it doesn't address the fact that if we went with item 3, option 3, and we essentially get out of the business of handling garbage. We contract it out and we're done with it. Whereas if we stay with the other ones, we're going to have to be doing a lot more on a regular basis with option 2. And there's going to be continuing costs with those too, because as the equipment, well.
but it's all, well, okay, I had to.
I just wanted to, on what Renee was saying with the cost of the recycling, curbside recycling, it doesn't matter which option we go to, we still have that cost of the curbside recycling. But also, like, one thing I'm worried about option 2 is this: if the seasonal people don't have recycling at those sites, what are they going to do with the recycling? If they don't want to use the recycling curbside and the waste curbside, they're going to throw it in the garbage.
They have been using the recycling on the curbside, the seasonal people. They don't like it, but they're using it. And those that, if they know that some leave their bins out there all week, but others, because a lot of them will take the recycling home because there's no limit in their cities as to the amount of recycling that they can put out. But they do. I think, it's up to them. But here, as far as waste is concerned, that's the last thing they want to do is take home, because most of them are allowed 1 bag every 2 weeks. And so.
But the landfill would be open on Sunday, so they still have that option for both recycling and waste.
Right, so, well, I mean, you tell them that, but that's not what they want. That's not what they want. And I mean, we can debate this like all night if you wish.
We'll see what the public consultation.
That's
comes up,
exactly
and
right.
Then we'll know what most people want.
Yeah. So to bring this talk more than I wanted to, I just want to bring it back here because staff needs our assistance with some direction. So we all agree that we're going to go public consultation. We now, is there consensus about doing starting the survey in January after Christmas so that we get a better return.
I can check.
Yeah,
Madam Mayor, may I make a suggestion?
sure.
I don't think there's a problem with starting the process, but I do agree that we should extend the process past the original timeline that has been proposed. And then even if we extended it 2 or 3 weeks and still try to get some type of report back to council by the end of January. That would be my suggestion to at least get the process going and extend the period above 45 days to give people the opportunity who want to address it right away. Some will, and give the opportunity for individuals who want to wait in the new year. It's more along the lines of Councilor Willie's suggestion in extending the period.
Okay, so by December 5th, then can we get a copy of the package?
Information will be provided for council
For the December 5th meeting?
or sooner, yes.
Oh, sooner would be even greater, yeah. Though, you know, like I know it's a lot of work, so.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It seems to me it would be a good thing to get the survey out, in the mail as soon as possible, as long as the survey is detailed with detailed information in it. So when people are looking at it and trying to make a decision, that it's very clear to them what the options are and what they're costing and how they're going to be costed. I think that's important, but the survey could go soon, and then the public would be better prepared for any kind of more formal consultation once they had an opportunity to absorb the detailed information that we're providing in the survey. And we'll have a better idea how to approach the consultation when we have the results of the survey too.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So just to get for clarification, just for timeline and for direction. So as soon as staff is ready with a survey to provide to council, we could still launch it in November. It gives a month before Christmas for people to respond. And as we are planning our public consultation session on the 24th, the public consultation is going to continue up into that meeting and probably a week after that meeting anyway. Because people are gonna learn about, some are gonna learn about the public session or the survey during that time. So if we extend the consultation until the end of January, that's still, so it gives people 2 months.
Okay. Oh, you're screeching. Is that your microphone?
And then we would have to get someone else. And then we could report to council further.
Okay, so I think council would like to see the survey first and
We can provide
approve
it
it and approve it. So that brings us to December 5th.
Email.
Yeah,
can-
you can email, but it still has to be approved by council. And so that brings us, our next meeting is December 5th. Is that what it is? December 1?
We were looking at providing it to council as information with the information that.
No, I think that because it's such a sensitive issue, I think the feedback from council, I think it has to be approved by council, up to council to decide. And then from there, I think of what Councilor Willie said. Launching something or putting stuff in the mail in December is not a timely thing. So even if we move
Just in-
everything by 3 weeks, it's not a big deal.
It's up to council to
Yeah.
decide.
All I'm gonna say, Giselle, is we can't move it back too far back, because if we're meeting February 1st for the budget, the first draft budget, we kind of have to have an idea of where we're going by that date. or we move the draft budget would have to be moved. You know, because, and then that would change the timeline.
There's not going to be a decision until after the consultation, so that screws, oops, sorry, Renee. There's not going to be, because the consultations are not going to occur till end of January, February. You're still not going to meet that deadline. We're going to have December 19th, I think it is, our preliminary budget meeting. And I think at that time, we need to have pretty heart-to-heart discussion as to the cost of waste management and where we're going with it. And to me, having the consultation done before or after is not going to help the budget process. So it's not doing anything for the budget process. No.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So that is one of the reasons why the timeline was prepared this way, to be able to, so we would have preliminary numbers by the 24th or by the end of January to be able to present council with the results of the survey, so council can consider it during the first meeting of budget to deliberate.
It's not that I disagree. I'm just saying that by the time, I think the biggest discussion to me should occur on December 19th. Because that's where we set priorities. That's where we talk about some of the difficult decisions that we're making. And then we can look at waste management and look at the cost and the effects on the budget, whether we go option 2 or option 3, and how we go about it, that we can have those 2 figures there, but have those debates at the on December 19th. I don't think we can wait much longer than that. And then in going to the public, then we're far more informed because we've had preliminary discussions and where we're going with the budget. So to me, December is such a write-off for so many people. And I just don't want to lose an opportunity to consult with people meaningful. And I don't want to hear people complaining, saying, well, you sent it in December, you know, we're so busy in December. I didn't see the letter. Like, we hear that even on days that are as far as I'm concerned, normal. And so to me, sending it out in December is my preference, but not just, well, if you send it out before we go out on holidays, maybe. But I just want to be careful as to make sure that we are not accused of trying to push an issue during a period of time where nobody's paying attention. That's all. That's my goal. Then it's up to you. But I believe that the survey and the information package needs to come to council for approval, as we've done in the past with some other stuff, because it's way too important for us not to do it.
Would it be possible to have a special meeting just to approve that before, so we can get going on this?
We can do anything. Though I'm getting the look over there. Special meetings are not really popular, right? Mark?
No, they're not popular, but when needed, that's what they're there for. I think this is a special circumstance that certainly we can work something out. It's not something that should take very long. Part of the survey that we're talking about is going to be very simple, very agree, disagree, or comment, and will be based on facts. They won't be, it'll be fair to both positions and just looking for public consultation. So there shouldn't be too much argument from council on what staff is going to put forth on a survey that council would have an issue with. You know, just like staff has prepared surveys much in the past and have put out surveys with information provided to council ahead of time, not necessarily approved at a council meeting.
Okay, I'm agreeable to that. I don't have a problem with that. Good suggestion.
So if that's the case, and if we can move the meeting along, then we'll come back with a proposed date and we'll have the documentation prepared and staff will reorganize their priorities for this important session, or we can choose a date right now. Is that what you're saying? Okay, sorry, Madam Clerk, you take over.
Thank you. I would propose that we set a date now. Because if it's the 22nd or 29th, we would need to get ready to present it to council and to give notice of a special meeting.
We do have an extra Wednesday in November.
So it's either
Between-
next Wednesday or
So it'd be either November 22nd and or November 29th.
I'm just going to verify
Yeah.
our.
For me, the 29th is out because of the train, so that doesn't work for me.
Is it possible by the 22nd? Is it,
That's next Wednesday.
I know, I'm asking if it's possible. Not- Not necessarily, does it have to be a Wednesday?
Clerk, does it have to be a Wednesday or?
We meet on the 22nd.
I'm just going to verify, because we have staff for shared service that attend other municipalities, just checking on their schedule. 22nd would be the preferred date.
Okay. Everybody okay with the 22nd? I think it's important.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll rearrange our schedule. I think Sema's on, but I've already told Candy.
On behalf of the clerk, as a deputy clerk, traditionally we put out the agenda the Friday before, if you would permit.
Special meeting
Is
is
it-
2 days
It
before.
2 days before, just to, so you're aware that the agenda will go out on the Monday with the information.
And if I'm just going to give a heads up, if the package is not ready on the Monday, that as long as it's presented to council a day before, just staff are going to make every effort to have it available, but are gonna make every effort that it's ready to go for council to review.
I think we realize it's a lot of work for staff.
It's a lot of,
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to make sure I temper council's expectations because you always get packages the Friday before meetings, so.
I'm fine with that as long as I have 24 hours to look it over. To come into a meeting cold will only create a delay anyway, so, yeah.
And I'm sure there's already an idea because the launch date of the consultation was the 22nd. So they must have an idea of what's gonna be in there, right? Because it was the
Okay,
original.
all right.
launch.
Let's bring this meeting back there. I think so do you have enough information?
one more question. If there's anything specific that council wants to see in this survey, we have an idea of what stats that would be required for council to make a decision. We already have kind of a format or framework prepared, but if there's anything specific that council wants us to consider, send it. If there's anything right now,
Just for the purpose of educating myself, there was the discussion is being made with respects to purchasing the bins. Has it been considered to contract these bins entirely out? So we make no purchase, that we contract their use, they're pulled, they're hauled, they're emptied, they're put back into position. I was wondering if that's considered. Also, I'm still struggling with the fact of the compaction mechanism and its justification. If somebody can let me know why is it needed, and I understand that it's been mentioned before because of the volume, but I know through going, and I'm only familiar, you have to excuse me, I'm only familiar with the Alban site. And with the amount of bins in there, the real estate now, I very seldom see those bins full. So that's why I'm asking myself the question, if we have an open 40-yard roll-off bin, minus the compactor, and we haul at a certain frequency, we can save ourselves a significant fundage with respect to that. And then the next question is, what's the reduction rate using compaction units? So are we talking 2-to-1, 3-to-1? And if so, again, I'd like to see the justification of this necessity. And one other thing I'll leave that off. I was just going to make comment on carbon footprint as well with respects to doing curbside. Having a truck running up and down our roads, stopping at every driveway is not really great for the environment. We have people using our sites. They drop in on convenience on the transfer site. So they're on their way somewhere else and they're already in the vehicle doing something else. And they're doing this over and above. So they're combining the trip. And I think that's what we've been told. By combining these trips, we actually save on our carbon footprint. That's really all I had. And one more thing, actually, I want to explore. I always envisioned having, because it's the attendant, and I know the attendant is a great cost addition as well. What would it cost to have software cameras and gated and to have a card access to allow people in the municipality with a valid, legitimate card, have access, gain access, deposit their material, and then come out? And I know, okay, and then the argument will be, okay, well, those people can abuse, but the camera system or the monitoring system would be triggered upon entry, and we could see the activities of these individuals once on site. So I'd like somebody to educate me on these points. Thank you.
Kevin?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm gonna highlight your last question. As for the other ones, we will have to get back to you at a later date. You're asking very specific data on compaction rate. But for the cameras, just let alone one site, even if you're gonna set up cameras and card locks, the arms, they seem to be very unreliable. We have them at the landfill site now. They're constantly breaking. So we are talking now having people running around chasing these and fixing them constantly because they just don't work. I don't know why. The cameras, anybody for them to review, if you spend more on staff hours reviewing than you do have somebody on site. That's what happens in the bylaw department now. So on a weekend of Manettville running, pulling just trail cam footage, not 24-hour footage, and only incidents, we're looking at 7 hours. That's just incidents. That's not running every plate that people go through. That's nothing. This is just incidents we see on a busy weekend. Albin site, you see it being cleaner because we took away recycling to start with, and we run 6 days a week emptying those sites. So that's why you're seeing them cleaner. Has nothing to do with anything that. There's just, we put more bins for garbage and we run like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The only day we're not emptying them is Sunday. And Public Works is at those sites every single day, 2 to 3 times a day, picking up bulky items. So that's why for the compaction rates, we can get back to you on the data, but that's why the 40-yard compactors, when we did the assessment, we would have to pick it up still once a day, cycle that with the amount of volume of waste that we have coming into that site alone. So those 3 days that we're looking at being open, they're gonna have to be switched out every day, once a day. So that's just the waste we have coming from them. So I can get you the specific data at a later date. It's just I don't have it in front of me now.
Thank you. So if we're hauling every day from the Albin site, could we not have the contractor haul every day? Would the cost be the same? So we're sending an owned truck and a driver that's paid from the municipality. Could we have a contracted truck doing the same thing? And then yeah, we'll leave that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we're the only ones with the haul all system, so we're the only ones that can do it. The bins are contracted. For the option number 2, the 40-yard bins, that is contracted services.
That's what I assumed, but now because the comment was made that we're hauling daily with the current system. So we'd be hauling daily contracted anyway. So the cost would be parallel.
Through you, Madam Mayor, correct. It'll only be one bin we're picking up compacted instead of somebody being there for hours emptying each bin. It's just a switch up, go dump back. Because at each site, they're emptying each bin individually, right? So that's cost. So with the new one, it's just gonna be a drop and go switch.
I apologize. I'm trying to educate myself and get up to speed. Now, with respects to monitoring, so if we have somebody on site 8 hours a day or somebody watching a camera 8 hours a day, I'm struggling with the differential.
Through you, Madam Mayor. First of all, only the bylaw department can run, only specific people in the municipality can run license plates if they break. And it has to be, they have to be breaking the law. So anybody from outside of the municipality wants to go through there, we can't stop, right? If somebody gives their card locks away or passes them off, we don't know. Because we can't run every plate. We have to follow specific guidelines. They have to be breaking that law for us to be able to run a license plate. We can't just assume they're breaking the law. Like, it's very specific what we can run a license plate for, and they have to be contravening that bylaw for me to run that through MTO. And it's very time consuming to do this, to sit down and actually figure out who it is. A lot of the times they're rental vehicles, a lot of times it's borrowed vehicles, they're from outside our municipality, they live in, they don't own property because of it's an STR, we never know. So the amount of actual fines that lead from camera footage is pretty low. Actually, we try to our best, but it's all we can do really. Like when you're running cameras, it's just like a traffic camera. You get hit with a traffic camera, you just get a ticket to your plate. You don't know who's doing it. Where now we can't find the plate. We have to actually find the individual who did it. Who was driving that vehicle? Did you borrow it? Is it your wife's vehicle? Is it your husband's vehicle? We don't know. So after all this goes into it, it takes a lot more time than just, watching and reviewing. You got to go through this huge process when it comes to investigating it.
So I can sum up. So because I was thinking that we'd only be chasing the problem occurrences. So that's not really the fact. So you're saying if there does happen to be an occurrence, then chasing that occurrence is going to be like 3 times. I'm just going to throw a number out. There's going to be 3 times the amount of time to do the legwork as having somebody on site and pick up the problem immediately, rather than now we have to, who caused the infraction, pick up the license plate, run that license plate. So that's where you're saying the extra time is coming in, because I was just thinking that you're only going to be chasing the person dropping the item not belonging, but there's much more to it than that. So thank you for that. I appreciate the information.
Also, yeah, just to add to that, there's also an education component by having a live person there. There's also the ability to monitor what is going in and shouldn't be going in. So we have a way of controlling those types of things at the problem point. Thank you.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, do you have enough? And staff, they have enough instructions from us? You're okay? Okay, thank you for indulging us. All right, let's move on. 6.4, Recreation Community Services. There's a report in your package. Do you have, I know Jason's not here, he's out hunting, but do you have any questions? And if you do, we can direct them to Jason. But I think it was pretty clear. Okay, yeah, I thought so too. Okay, so now we move on to 6.5, Emergency and Protection Services. So you have a resolution to amend the responsible animal ownership bylaw, and that is the setting of the fines. And that was included in your package. And just to explain to people why some of the fines came in lower is because the courts, they're the ones that decide how high you can go and And I guess some of our suggestions were a little too high. A little too high. So do you have I need a mover and a seconder, Renee and Dave.
Duly moved and seconded, be it resolved that bylaw 2023-58 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2023-45, a bylaw to regulate, license and control on all animals in the municipality, be read at first, second and third time and finally passed.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. You have the quarterly report from Bylaw Services. And that's over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor.
Busy night for you, eh?
Always,
Mhm.
is. Just some quick little tidbits here for what was going on third quarter. Waste transfer site monitoring continues as always. We did draft short-term rental bylaw. Our MLEO attended the Municipal Law Enforcement Officers Association Annual Seminar in Niagara for a bit of extra training and knowledge. I just want to point out some of our quarterly stats because they're getting a little high here. So the third quarter, French River 76 complaints we have so far this year. Last year, our total was, of the whole year was 54 and we're already at 76. That's just French River. Remember, we do SEB, so we're in the two other municipalities as well. We've issued only 4 provincial charges. So with the provincial offenses notices, sorry. Last year we did 65. And that's because we're switching over to our amps penalty. So we're at 33 amps this year. So we're trying to keep it more in-house as much as possible. Keep away from the provincial court system because it's just too lengthy and costly to really go that route. I think everyone's heard enough from me today, so we'll just close it off there.
Any questions for Kevin? Okay. Thank you, Kevin. We'll move on to 6.6, building planning and development. And before you, you have a resolution to adopt the short-term rental licensing bylaw. And I have to say, this is a historic day for us here in French River. Again, I want to thank the staff, Andrea, Mel, Kevin, Riley, for putting this bylaw that addresses so many things, and we're very progressive in that bylaw. So very proud to be part of the team that will be accepting this finally tonight. So with that, I need a mover and a seconder, Dave and Willie.
Duly moved and seconded, be resolved that bylaw 2023-60 being a bylaw to license and regulate short-term rental accommodations in the municipality of French River be read at first, second, and third time and finally passed.
And finally passed is right. All those in favor? Yeah, yes, and bravo to people that put it together. Well done. Let's move on to 6.6.2, resolution to amend the fees related to the charges by bylaw 2021-22. So I need a mover and a seconder. Renee and Willie.
Duly moved and seconded, be resolved that bylaw 2023-59 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2021-22, a bylaw to set fees and related charges set out by the council of the municipality of French River, be read at first, second, and third time and finally passed.
And that includes both the trailer and the short term.
Yes.
All those in favor? Thank you. You move on to 6.6.3, quarterly report for building control. It's included in your package. Andrea could not be here today because she's with the St. Charles Council. So if you have any questions with regards to the report, we can address them through Andrea. Everybody okay? We'll move on to correspondence, and there is none. I need a resolution to adopt the items contained in the consent agenda moved by Willie and Dean.
Duly moved and seconded, be it resolved that council approves the items of the consent agenda under sections 8.1 and 8.3.
All those in favor? Thank you. And we move on to, I lost my page. There are no notices of motion. And announcement, so we'll start with, let's see here, Councillor Roger. Microphone.
Waste management. Even though there's a lot of discussion on both sides tonight, I do believe the survey is the important part of it. Because after all, we all represent people that talk to us, and we have to answer to them. Thank you.
I have nothing.
Mr. Dean.
Just in response to Roger's comment that we answer to them at election time. In the meantime, in like 4 years, we're also elected to do the best possible thing for the municipality at every stage of the game. And so if we all have different opinions on an issue as important as this one, we'll wait and see what happens really with the surveys and discussions but I emphasize once again that those surveys have to be very comprehensive. They have to be able to ask the right questions and give the right information so that when people make a decision, they're doing it from an informed point of view. Other than that, I've got nothing else to say. Thank
Water
you.
levels?
Well, the water's pretty steady the last few days. I guess actually over a week now that it's been pretty steady. I suspect that the inflows into Lake Nipissing have dropped a lot and they're still discharging at a fairly good rate. But I notice the lake is going down and we're pretty steady right now. And I think it'll, unless we get a lot of rain before freeze up, it probably won't change much. So that's my guess anyway. Thank you.
Don't have anything to add. Thank you.
I don't have much to say, just the holiday train coming on November 29th at 7 o'clock in Rudder. For those that want to come out and bring some canned goods for our baskets. I know this weekend the firefighters are having a toy drive, both in Albin and in Novel. So if you guys want to drop off a gift for kids, all the gifts will be local. They're going to be distributed at the same time as the Christmas baskets. I know arrangements have been made with Dennis. So thanks to them for doing that for the children in our community that can't have gifts. So I think it's a big thing and that's about it.
I just wanted to thank everybody that attended the Remembrance Day ceremonies on Saturday. I thought that was quite good, quite moving, and it was nice to see our volunteer firefighters there escorting people to the to lay their wreaths. I thought that was really special. The food bank is open tomorrow for the public between 9 o'clock and noon. And there was one more thing, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. Okay, well, I can't remember. Okay. Potluck lunch. Oh, yeah, that's the best. Albin Seniors on Friday at noon at Univ in the room in the back. It was something else, but it wasn't that. But that's okay. Any comments from staff? Members of the public? Bob, it is so nice seeing you. We miss you. And it's funny seeing you sitting there and not there. So welcome, and I'm glad you came today. Thank you.
Anytime, Bob.
Anytime, you are so welcome. So now I need a resolution to resolve into a closed session, moved by Dean and Dave.
It is duly moved and seconded. Be resolved that the meeting be closed as authorized in the municipal act pursuant to section 239(2)D, labor relations or employee negotiations with respect to union negotiations.
All those in favor? Thank you. All right.
Resolutions are good.
All right.
All right, we need a resolution to reconvene into open session. Dave and Dean. All those in favor? Thank you. And we have motions.
One motion.
One motion.
So we have a motion to adopt or to authorize the collective agreement that council discussed in closed session.
All right, I need a mover and a seconder, Roger and Willie. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, I'm gonna read it.
Duly moved and seconded, be it resolved that bylaw 2023-62, being a bylaw to authorize the collective agreement with United Steelworkers Union, local 2020, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. I need a resolution to adopt the confirmation bylaw, Renee and Dean.
Duly moved and seconded, be resolved that bylaw 2023-61, being a bylaw to confirm the proceeding of council at a meeting held November 15th, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you. All those in favor? Okay. Thank you. And again, just before we adjourn, I just want to thank all the counselor for the good discussion we had, and especially the staff for tolerating us in the manner in which we're all so passionate about. I need a resolution to adjourn. Moved by, will we staying all night? Okay, Roger and Renee. All those in favor? Thank you. Have a good evening.